and, you know, spirited, lion-hearted human beings that would go up and stand up against it. The first guy that I saw really use it in that way was Osama bin Laden, which was a bit of a disappointment to me because I was thinking about myself. You know, he used it very effectively. I mean, technology, if it's powerful technology, has any number of consequences. And I'm pretty even-handed about what it giveth and taketh away. I mean, I've been toiling along in cyberspace since 1986, and it's, you know, I'm sick of it. I was a cattle rancher before that. I want to go back to something like that. But, you know, it's not something I can do. And nor is it something I really would want anybody else to do, because we are doing something that is so important, and we are at this pivotal point in human history where we're designing the foundations of the future. And if we're short-sighted about it, I just cannot imagine how lame our descendants will think we were at that moment.
Okay, the guy in the red shirt, is it red?
It's salmon.
It's the lighting there. I thought it was cute.
My name is Øystein Jacobsen. I'm with the Electronic Frontier Norway and the industry organization Frivilligt. I caught on the thing you said about creating a world where your ancestors would live in. And your ancestors. No. The
I just encouraged everybody.
The other way around.
I encouraged everybody to be a better ancestor.
Yeah. I'm a father, and I hate to think of the day when I have to tell my son, you can't create because you have to be a lawyer to understand all these intellectual property rights before you start to create. And if you want to share your expression, you need to make sure that no one else made that expression before you. And if you want to use someone's expression, it's ludicrous to me. And the notion today in the Norwegian debate seems to focus a lot around the idea of property, that a creator should have a perpetual plus 70 or near perpetual right to control his work. It doesn't belong to society. It's not a part of our cultural inheritance. It's something that you made, therefore you own it, and you need to control how it is distributed, how it's used, how it is perpetuated. And I want to know how would you answer the people that say that this ownership is important and needful?
Could I ask a question to the audience? How many people in here think that they do creative work that is sometimes original? I mean, don't be shy. I bet a bunch of you do.
Second question, how many make a living out of it?
That's not the issue I'm talking about. How many of you feel that if it's really, really hot and really true, how many of you feel that that's simply something you did and not something that came through you?
What?
I'm not just talking about Dylan. I mean, I'm talking about a much lesser songwriter like myself. I mean, I occasionally got some good songs out, okay songs anyway, and they all showed up in the back of my head more or less fully delivered from God knows where. But to say that I wrote that song, I mean, it would be like saying that the faucet creates the water. It just happened to flow through me. And that's how I look at it. I mean, it's a gift to you, and it's a gift that passes on. And I think it's perfectly legitimate for the faucet to lay claim on having a great bunch of water that flows through it, and people can come and develop a relationship with the faucet and give it money and have a service relationship, but it's not the same thing as saying that the faucet owns it.
All right, I have quite a few on my list now, so I think we're gonna let more of you to it before you respond. So I think the first is the lady here in the middle. Was that you?
Would that be me?
Okay, right in the back.
Yeah, right. This is really a question to
think it could be interesting for several of you. It's about the institutionalized constraints between the artists and the audience, or perhaps the freedoms. It was nice. It was interesting to hear Jan talk about the freedom that how the record company cares about the artist. How if the artist wants to give away their songs, they might as well do that. Their job is to care about them. And then I noticed, well, he's wearing a 9 Inch Nails t-shirt, isn't he?
Yeah.
Which is a very good thing, because as far as I remember, Trent Reznor ditched his record company because they did not allow him to do as he pleased with his creative work. Because Trent Reznor, he wants to co-create with his fans. So he shares his work, music or photos or whatever, a lot of it, and see what comes out of it. Thus, it becomes a little bit more difficult to trust you when you say that the record company, well, yeah, cares that much about the artist. Thank you.
Before you respond, let me jump in with a couple of other questions as well. So just take notes meanwhile. I think first is here on the right, and then the lady in the middle.
Me?
Yes.
Yes, I also have a question for the representative of EMI. Here is a music lover, and I have just recently installed Last. I'm trying. I'm just recently installed Last FM on my computer. I don't know if you know the service, but it gives me the opportunity to get statistics of the music I listen to, and I just realized that since January 1st this year, I've listened to just over 10,000 tracks and 750 artists. If I went to the store and bought these records, the cost would be astronomical. I'm a man on a relatively ordinary salary. I couldn't buy this music. Most of this has actually been legal because I use another service on the internet called Spotify, which allows me to do this legally by listening to commercials. But before Spotify arrived, I did it illegally. I did download illegal music, and I did that the first time. First time I downloaded illegally was in 1996, I think. And the first time I used Spotify was last year. So for 12 years, artists have been screwed. And my question
They've been screwed before that.
Well, yeah, but in my account that I am responsible for, artists have been screwed because I listen to a lot more music than I can afford paying for. So my question is, why is the record companies have the record companies been screwing the artists for 12 years or more? Why haven't you created these solutions that obviously makes it possible to listen to music in the way that modern music lovers like it, need it, crave it, for free, while at the same time giving, or not for free, but for a cost that is livable, at the same time giving money to the creators of the music? We have been forced to piracy because it's impossible. It's impossible to listen to this much music and pay for it unless you're really rich. So why hasn't it been so difficult to create these things, these services, when it's obviously possible?
Okay, last question before we let the panel answer, and please feel free to keep your question brief or your comments brief. Oh, sorry, you're next.
I'm a freelance writer and journalist, so I also represent the people who write words. And I just want to say that I do not subscribe to the idea that to protect copyright and defend intellectual property is inherently an attack on free speech. I believe that the measures that have been suggested thus far, they might be. That just means that we have to keep on trying. Copyright protection is not just for big corporations to protect their earnings. It is also little people like me trying to make